Hello, Bryce here, just jumping into the top of the pod with a little request for help. Right now, the Federal Parliament is looking into social media and its impact on Australian society. Now, we're going to make a submission as Squiz Kids based on the success of Newshounds, our media literacy program for primary school kids, which is now, if you can believe it, in more than 2,500 classrooms and counting. Now, we'd love you to be a part of our submission by filling out a survey that we've created. You'll find the link in our episode notes. Put simply, if we can't get the federal government to help fund Newshounds, we may no longer be able to produce it. So please, help us so we can help your kids.
Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Kombumerri people.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Thursday, June 20. In Squiz Kids Today, nuclear power in play, Egypt's Marge Simpson mummy, social media warning, and Mbappe's nose and Ronaldo's return. That's what's making news, kids style.
The Lowdown.
A word you're going to hear a lot in the next couple of days in the news is nuclear, and specifically nuclear energy and nuclear power stations. And that's because the federal opposition, the party that's not running the country at the moment but would very much like to be, yesterday named 7 places across Australia where it would build a nuclear power plant if it wins the next election. So, what's nuclear power? It's power for things like lighting and heating and electrical appliances that is generated in a nuclear reactor using a scientific process that involves the splitting of atoms to create heat, which is then used to turn water into steam, which then turns turbines to make electricity. Fans of nuclear power say that one of its benefits is that it requires a lot less fossil fuels than other forms of energy creation, like power stations, for example, that burn coal to create heat. And all of that sounds very straightforward, and certainly lots of countries around the world generate nuclear power, but it can also be a highly dangerous way to make electricity. And there have been some very famous nuclear reactor meltdowns around the world that have had a terrible impact on the people, animals, and natural environments near the reactor. So, as we enter an election year, meaning the year in which our politicians will start to put forward policies to convince us to vote for them, you can expect to hear a lot more on this topic. Speaking of electricity, heaters and air conditioners up and down the east coast of Australia will have been working overtime this week as winter temperatures sank to record levels. Sydney and Melbourne recorded their chilliest mornings of the year yesterday when the mercury could only manage to get to 6.5 degrees in Sydney and a chillifying 1.4 degrees Celsius in Melbourne. Oi! And the Sunshine State has been anything but this week, with Queensland's inland areas recording the coldest night on record on Monday night. Now, where did I put that hoodie of mine?
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Egypt, where archaeologists have discovered a 3,500-year-old mummy that looks suspiciously like Marge Simpson. So, we know Marge is a mummy, right? To Bart, Lisa and Maggie. But now it seems she has an actual Egyptian mummy likeness, with the unearthing of a coffin featuring a drawing of a woman with a tall column of blue hair, yellow skin and a green dress. Uncanny. Archaeologists, who are people that dig up the past for a living, have unfortunately shot down the theory doing the rounds of the internet that Marge is a time traveller by identifying the mummified remains as belonging to the daughter of an ancient high priest. Yeah, I think I like the Marge Simpson theory better.
Sport time.
Are you sleep-deprived and bleary-eyed? Have you been burning the midnight oil to get caught up in all the Euro 2024 action? Then you'd know that the football tournament has all of Europe on the edge of their seats this week, watching to see which European country of the 30 that are taking part emerges with the championship trophy. It's very early days in the month-long competition, which is still in the group stage, but the favourites to win are currently France, England, Portugal and Germany. France's chances took a bit of a blow this week when champion striker Kylian Mbappe broke his nose in a game against Austria. And Cristiano Ronaldo cemented his place as a crowd favourite by returning to play for his country Portugal. Let the games begin.
News hounds.
Every Thursday, Squizzy the Newshound pops his head into Squiz Kids HQ to report back on fishy things he's sniffed out on the internet. And today, his big old bloodhound chest is puffing with excitement after America's top doctor, a person called the Surgeon General, has said that social media is like cigarettes and should carry the same warning labels. The US Surgeon General yesterday wrote a newspaper article in which he described social media as really bad for teenage mental health and suggested that social media platforms should carry the same health warning stickers that packets of cigarettes are obliged to carry. The doctor pointed to a 2019 survey which showed that teens who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media had double the chance of being depressed or anxious. It's why we've developed, and Squizzy really wants you to do, the Newshounds program, teaching you all about media literacy and the importance of stopping, thinking and checking every time you're online to make sure that what you're seeing is real, but then also making sure you understand why people are making content on social media and what impact it is they're hoping it will have on you. Thanks, Squizzy. What would we do without you?
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What sort of energy is the federal opposition suggesting Australia develop? Did you say nuclear energy? Well done you. Question number 2. What did French striker Kylian Mbappe break in his country's Euro 2024 game against Austria this week? Yep, he broke his nose. Ouch. Question number 3. Archaeologists in Egypt have uncovered a mummy that looks like which cartoon character? Well done if you said Marge Simpson.
Shout outs.
It's June 20. Today is World Refugee Day. A refugee is someone forced to flee their home country and find refuge in another country. Australia is lucky enough to be home to many refugees and their families, and a big shout out to them all listening today. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Maximus from Ellenbrook, Daniel from Woongarra, Saskia from Tempe, Derek from Rochdale, Natalie from Ballarat, Lachlan from Forest Lake, Layla from Mount Annan, Shelby from Tailem Bend, Zane from Madawi, Amaya from The Gap and Lily from Queensland. And belated birthday shout-outs go to Braxton from Darwin. And classroom shout-outs today go to the students with Mr. Brooks and Mr. Martin at the Repton School in Abu Dhabi. Classes 4, 5 and 6 with Mr. Kennis at the Aspect School in Wagga Wagga. Class 5, 6 SA with Mr. Anderson at Cannon Hill State School. And finally, to Enoch and Tangy, who are homeschooling with their mum, Ms. Naz, in Collingwood Park. And a special shout out today to all the kids of 4AH and 4MA and their excellent teachers at St. Francis Xavier Primary School in Montmorency. It was such a pleasure to visit and meet you all on Tuesday, and to see what great progress you're all making becoming Newshounds. You guys are the best. And finally, a special shout out to Class 6C and Mrs. Clark at Wellington Point Primary School. I hope you've enjoyed having my friend Miss Tarso in your classroom. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au or fill out the form on our website. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow with the Kids vs. Adults Weekly News Quiz. Your chance to prove who's been paying the most attention to the week that just was. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.